Huyang City, atop the high tower of the city owner's mansion. Luo Feng was drinking alone. 9 Rivers Sacred Realm? Luo Feng muttered to himself. The information provided during the gathering with primogenitor Yan Feng, Emperor Qin, and himself revealed much. Only when one reaches the ultimate realm life form could one traverse through a transmission passage within Land of Origin, leaving Land of Origin, usually to a randomly chosen destination, unless the exact coordinates are set during transmission. The world where Emperor Qin resides is known as 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, which is a convergence of numerous source world powerhouses and countless world-level strong ones. Emperor Qin, he is in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Those qualified to be here, the weakest are ultimate realm life forms, and the higher-ups can reach half-primordial level. Primogenitor Yan Feng is in the Dark Sacred Realm, where the entry threshold is extremely high. Primogenitor Yan Feng, Thunder Ancestor, are merely slightly stronger than the entry-level requirement. In the Dark Sacred Realm, the resources are much more abundant than in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Luo Feng is too far from what's called the threshold of the Dark World. Generally, only those who are the enlightened in the late stages of Divine Emperor could hope to enter. Whether it's 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, Dark Sacred Realm, or some other places, they are all for the likes of Senior Yuan to cultivate us, the weaker ones. Luo Feng also understood this. Without Star Tower, Eye of Life and Death, my strength is still a bit too weak. The Eye of Life and Death opened at Luo Feng's brow, looking far off in the direction of the Dream Domain. With the exception of the infinite space not in the Land of Origin, Luo Feng could peek into all other sacred places. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, it rapidly penetrated layers of spatial barriers and saw the core layer, the dark area. The dark area where only spiritual will could probe, but the Eye of Life and Death could clearly see everything. There is only one space in the dark area. Luo Feng watched. The entire dream domain looked like a massive sphere with countless bubbles inside, each bubble an independent space. The outermost dream realm spaces were the most numerous, the middle layer had fewer, the deeper layer even less, and the core dark area had only one space. This one space was extraordinarily stable. The ground was cast from black metal, engraved with secret patterns. The trees grew tangled from innumerable metals. The rivers were even more convergences of shining Lu Guang. Here, the weakest creatures are Emperor and Monarch level. The most powerful touched upon the limits of Land of Origin's power, and some of their conflicts were enough to make even Luo Feng change color. Even I can't bring the Eye of Life and Death, Star Tower inside, Luo Feng understood, although the strongest dream realm creatures in the dark area are at the limit of power. However, in some areas there are simply too many dream realm creatures. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, one could see an area where hundreds of serpentine creatures converged, each one frolicking with others, and their commotion could touch the limit of Land of Origin's power. If hundreds of serpentine creatures were to attack, it would be like having hundreds of Emperor Qing attacking. Luo Feng thought, even if I hide inside the Star Tower, I would be completely trapped and unable to escape. The Star Tower's power was also limited. One against hundreds? How to fight? Even if primogenitor Yan Feng and Thunder Ancestor came, it wouldn't help. There are quite a few special life remnants. Under the observation of the Eye of Life and Death, Luo Feng saw countless of them, scattered all over the place. Or deep within a river where hundreds of thousands of remains could be found, a single bone, a piece of scale, a strand of muscle. Deep within the mountains some were also hidden. But there was one thing in common. All of them required exploring deep within the dark area. With my Eye of Life and Death, I can only see the appearances of these special life remnants, unable to peer inside. Luo Feng frowned. I cannot determine their exact value. Using his own Eye of Life and Death, perhaps comparable to an ordinary high-level primordial life's observational ability. But to see through the essence of special life remnants at a glance was simply not possible. I can only bring one piece back. After getting one, I would be expelled, never able to enter again, Luo Feng pondered. His Eye of Life and Death carefully observed. Rivers, mountains, underground, jungles, comparing various corpse materials one by one. This piece, it looks unusual. Luo Feng eventually focused on one piece of material. It was a dark golden pointed horn. This dark golden horn was deep within the underground maze, where hundreds of creatures resembling centipedes were perched, all of which seemed to be worshipping this horn. Watching the entire dream domain's dark area with my Eye of Life and Death, this is the only horn-like material. And the creatures guarding it are quite strong, Luo Feng thought, this is the one. An exceedingly terrifying life form. If it had a horn, moreover a single horn, it must be greatly useful. Let's look at the Heavenly Pillar Realm. Luo Feng turned his head and carefully observed the whole Heavenly Pillar Realm with the Eye of Life and Death. Deep within the Heavenly Pillar Realm, the most eye-catching feature was a winding polluted blood river. Any godly king of the second realm who touched this polluted blood river would die immediately, even their avatars in the outer realms would perish due to soul pollution. Moreover, there were massive bone mountains with countless crevices inside them resembling a maze. There were also an abundance of lush plants, growing on the banks of the polluted blood river and within the bone mountains, rooting deep into the ground. The dream domain I can see through at a glance. However, in the Heavenly Pillar Realm, there are about 1 or 2/10 of the region that I can't see clearly, the polluted blood river, within I can't see clearly, the bone mountains I can only see the surface, the deepest parts are unclear as well as the deep underground. Luo Feng shook his head slightly. The polluted blood river, it should be the blood contamination formed by world-level primordial life. Luo Feng was somewhat certain. Such blood that not even his eye of life and death could see through would definitely not be from the blood of life within the braided cage. It is said that within the polluted blood river, bone mountains and deep underground, it's easy to breed innate secret treasures, laughed Luo Feng. What was strange was that whether it was in the dream domain or the heavenly pillar realm, Luo Feng did not see any innate secret treasures. The innate secret treasures seemed to be hidden very well. As for special life remnants, Luo Feng looked at the heavenly pillar realm. Remnants are everywhere. The entire polluted blood river is composed of remnants, and every bone mountain is made of remnants. Luo Feng realized this, but he also knew that he had no way to take them. Just by looking, Luo Feng could tell how overwhelmingly heavy they were, and the intimidation they posed was terrifying. This is it. After carefully examining the massive amounts of remnants in the depths of the heavenly pillar realm, Luo Feng finally made a choice. As observed with the eye of life and death, there were a total of 289 bone mountains, and within the central one of those bone mountains, there was a long segment of black bone, divided into 9 sections. These 9 segments of black bone, I should be able to take one section, thought Luo Feng. Although the heavenly pillar realm was guarded by 2 imperial clans, they did not dare to hinder the galaxy ruler. Luo Feng sent out a powerful avatar, whose physical body alone possessed the strength of a divine emperor level, and made his way deep into the bone mountain range. Despite the ever-increasing pressure, this intimidation still fell within the limits of the land of origin. Luo Feng reached the core, entering deep into that bone mountain, looking at the towering 9 segments of black bone. The 9 segments of black bone emitted a terrifying aura. As soon as Luo Feng touched it, an intangible message transferred to him. He could only take away one segment, and once taken away he would not be able to take any more special life remnants. As Luo Feng moved it, he felt an immense weight, and then he stored it inside the divine-level secret treasure water drop flying boat he carried with him. The special life remnants of the heavenly pillar realm were relatively easy for Luo Feng to obtain. However, the dark golden horn, in the dream domain was very difficult to attain. Luo Feng had attempted hundreds of times and each time he failed. Fortunately, his avatar's life force was strong enough that trying hundreds of times didn't cause too much energy depletion. With the eye of life and death assisting from afar, I still failed. Luo Feng had no choice but to set it aside for now. After over 200 eras, employing the 3-9 branches fusion secret method of the great Tao of life and death in tandem, and with multiple avatars working together, assisted by long-range observation of the eye of life and death, and by luring away the opponent and desperately restraining, he finally obtained that dark golden sharp horn. Since then, the 2 most important treasures that divine emperors within the land of origin could generally obtain, the 2 special life remnants, were in his hands. These 2 treasures are indeed extraordinary, Luo Feng observed under the eye of life and death. The single horn and one segment of the black bone contained endless mysteries within themselves. Although they were slightly inferior to the eye of life and death, they were of the same level and even more simple and pure. The single horn actually contains the mysteries of spiritual will, Luo Feng exclaimed in awe. The secret patterns within the single horn, spiritual will seem to dominate. This segment of black bone has the mystery of being indestructible. Luo Feng peered into the composition of the black bone. How could the growth of life be so indomitably indestructible? Luo Feng immersed himself in his cultivation, and the land of origin also returned to calm. Under the joint orders of the galaxy ruler, primogenitor Yen Feng and Thunder Ancestor, the great sinners of the entire land of origin no longer had a footing to exist. Even those who were lucky enough to secretly consume some tribes to aid their own cultivation were in constant fear and trepidation as Morosa and a group of patrollers might find them at any moment. Unbeknownst to many, the bet between Luo Feng and Thunder Ancestor had also passed for about 500 years already. In Flame Wind ancient country within a vast space, 11 thoughts converged, forming the figures of 11 emperors. That guest official Luo, he has been the garrison commander of the heavenly pillar realm for 1,000 eras, Dian said. It is time for him to leave. The task of heavenly pillar realm garrison. No guest elder can be assigned consecutively. The role of garrison for the heavenly pillar realm was a coveted assignment for the guest's elders. Dian and the others typically used it to reward some obedient guest elders. Having Luo he occupied it for over 1,000 eras, Dian and the others were naturally displeased. A guest elder who does not understand hierarchy, yet we let him hold the position for over 1,000 eras? Di Wu's face was icy cold. She had personally threatened Luo he, forcing him to accept another task, but in the end, Emperor Chu had protected his own disciple. Emperor Chu had a deep hatred with her. Naturally she was also full of hostility towards Luo he. Since the term is over, it is natural to replace him. Emperor Chu glanced at Di Wu, not caring in the slightest. Land of origin is entering its final phase, estimated to have only several billion eras left before succumbing to desolation. These emperors and monarchs, unable to comprehend the complete great Tao, must leave land of origin before its desolation. Their current scramble for resources has also become more blatant. It was Luo Feng who pushed for the rule, great sinners must die. Otherwise the godly kings in land of origin cultivating primordial bloodline for not perishing with land of origin would increasingly devour billions of creatures. The garrison duty in heavenly pillar realm is up, and Luo he's term has ended, said the ruling Di Fu with a smile. Naturally, a new guest elder should be selected. Gentlemen, feel free to recommend someone. Di Fu had the authority to appoint directly. However, even Di Fu could forcefully appoint someone only a limited number of times for desirable duties. This time, Di Fu clearly put the task of Heavenly Pillar Realm up for competition amongst the other emperors. In the end, the duty still fell to Di Yan and their group. Di Yan, Di Shi, and Di Wu joined forces, and considering Di Yuan is dead and Emperor Qing stays out of it, with the ruling Di Fu not competing, their small group's competitive power is the strongest. Di Kong, Emperor Xian, Di Jiufeng, Di Wu, Di Yu, Emperor Ming, and Emperor Chu. These 7 were all somewhat independent and pursued their own paths. The next duty, the garrison of the treasure site Heaven and Earth Maze. Di Fu continued. One duty after another was established. The following duty is to guard the Fire Prison Realm, which has cultivated various, second realm of Godly King, strength primordial bloodline creatures. The guardian must be at least a second realm of Godly King, said Di Fu. Anyone interested in this task? I'll take the guardian duty of Fire Prison Realm, Emperor Chu spoke up. That line of Emperor Chu's is suitable for this duty, it would be Luo He, right? Di Yan frowned, he was just appointed the garrison commander of Heavenly Pillar, and now he's heading to Fire Prison Realm. All the good duties go to him? We Imperial clan controlling these guest elders must have rules. They must establish enough merit points through hard work before we can grant them appropriate benefits. Emperor Chu puzzled, isn't guarding Fire Prison Realm a tough task? Luo He cultivates the life path well known to all. The methods within Fire Prison Realm that cultivate primordial bloodline creatures contain many secrets of life. How can we allow him to peek into them easily? Di Yan said. Primogenitor Yen Feng cultivated primordial bloodline creatures, which could only stably cultivate second realm of Godly King, strength primordial bloodline creatures. Occasionally, there would emerge an ultimate realm primordial bloodline creature. I will take this duty, Di Wu also spoke. I plan to personally undertake the garrison of Fire Prison Realm to deeply study the mysteries of life. His cultivation was the life path, yet he had always failed to comprehend the great Tao. With Di Wu's declaration, the rest could only leave the field. When competing for duties, priority is certainly given to emperors. Moments later, all duties were assigned and the emperors left one by one. Emperor Yan. Di Fu stopped Di Yan. What's the matter? Di Yan looked at his old friend. Emperor Yan, you're targeting Luo He so much, surely Emperor Chu will also inform his disciple, Di Fu said. You're setting up a grudge with Luo He. It's been a grudge for a while now, replied Di Yan indifferently. The trio of emperors had long been allied, and they've been on bad terms with Emperor Chu, naturally involving Luo He as well. Moreover, the resources of the entire land of origin are limited, Di Yan said indifferently. Luo He's talent is too high. If we don't suppress him, he might charge forward more fiercely, snatching away the resources that should belong to us. You couldn't tolerate God King Zongfu in the past, Di Fu shook his head lightly, and now you can't tolerate Luo He either. We have to go out into the source world to make our way, fighting for everything. Di Yan's eyes were cold. Our own strength must improve and of course, we must suppress these powerful rivals. You might suffer from causality backlash for doing this, Di Fu warned. If we're competing, why fear backlash? Emperor Yan scoffed coldly, then departed. Di Fu said nothing more. Based on detailed observations over the past 500 eras, I am almost certain that Luo He is that galaxy ruler. Di Fu sighed silently. Emperor Yan, your methods are merciless, but this time you've hit an iron wall. Time and again, Emperor Yan and the trio of emperors acted. God kings like Zongfu and Guisu fell one by one. Some god kings were extinguished along with their entire species. Some were lucky with a few survivors. The endless battle desire of god kings Zongfu and Guisu was because their kin had perished. Luo Feng also rose too quickly with no conspicuous secret treasures displayed, so Emperor Yan and the other 2 emperors had not taken action. In Heavenly Pillar Realm. In front of a towering heavenly pillar, Luo Feng stood carefully observing. His observation was multifaceted. On one hand, it was the distant watching through the eye of life and death, on the other hand, the penetration of spiritual will, and also the perspective of an ordinary life form within the braided cage. Observing from multiple angles, reflecting upon each other. Rumble. Through the eye of life and death, Luo Feng saw a surging torrential black river, too fierce and unrestrained, sweeping everything in its path. This is some of the life mysteries within the primordial space, far more profound and vast than the great Tao of life, within the supreme rules, Luo Feng pondered. The great Tao of life within the supreme rules contains the mysteries of all life within land of origin. But what about even vaster spaces? Within the primordial space, countless source worlds are hard to enumerate, alongside many more myriad worlds, with massive numbers of innate primordial life forms and even more mysterious unknowns. The mysteries of life within primordial space are far deeper and more profound than in the land of origin. 36 heavenly pillars, 9 great Taos, each great Tao supported by 4 heavenly pillars, pointing in 4 different directions, thought Luo Feng. Senior Yuan and the others have indeed made painstaking efforts. These heavenly pillars are like lamps lit in the darkness, illuminating the path. Each great Tao in the heavenly pillar realm reveals 4 directions, representing the paths beyond the confinements of the braided cage. Brother Luo He, I have come to take over the duty of garrisoning the heavenly pillar realm, said a gray-robed elder upon arriving at one of the entrances to the heavenly pillar realm, meeting one of LuoFeng's garrison avatars. The 1000-era term has come to an end, It's time to hand over the duties. Follow me first to meet Emperor Xian, said Luo Feng. To him, whether to garrison the Heavenly Pillar realm or not was of little consequence. His identity as the galaxy ruler allowed him to freely comprehend those 36 heavenly pillars within the Heavenly Pillar realm. All right. The gray-robed elder followed Luo Feng to meet Emperor Xian and then officially took over. Luo Feng had thus completed one of his tasks. From this point forth, Luo Feng only had one remaining duty in Flame Wind Ancient Country, garrisoning Xiangjie City. Originally, due to his conflict with Yen Su, Luo Feng had been sentenced to garrison Xiangjie City for a whopping 10,000 years. There was still a long way to go until the end of his term. Present-day Huyang City, now surrounded by 5 towering mountain ranges. These mountain ranges, like a massive formation, thoroughly protected Huyang City. If there were any powerful beings capable of perceiving beneath these mountain ranges, they would discover that the foundations of the mountains were even more colossal and interconnected to form an integrated entity, resembling a gigantic claw. Innate secret treasure Palm World. Luo Feng, over these past 500 years, had managed to acquire only one innate secret treasure in the deep regions of the dream domain despite being powerful enough and having the eye of life and death to observe. This innate secret treasure was a fuzzy little claw, naturally containing endless mysteries of secret patterns. Once stimulated, the palm of the claw would naturally form a world. Luo Feng named it Palm World. After Luo Feng refined and mastered it, he placed the small claw in the region of Huyang City. The 5 continuous mountain ranges that appeared above ground were merely the tip of the iceberg. On the land of origin, only a few could peek into the marvels of this innate secret treasure, thought Luo Feng. Perhaps through this they might guess that I am the galaxy ruler. Whether it would reveal his identity, Luo Feng was not concerned. Initially, Luo Feng had planned to purchase a cave mansion-class array formation secret treasure from Di Qing to protect Huyang City and to provide shelter for the headquarters of the Blade River sect. But this innate secret treasure proved to be a more suitable choice. With only a partial activation of its power, Luo Feng easily brought the innate secret treasure to the upper limit of the land of origin's might. Indeed, the dream domain is miraculous, capable of naturally nurturing secret treasures. Compared to this, the life forms in the land of origin are much simpler, mused Luo Feng walking through a wasteland. He observed the surrounding flora and trees, as well as the exotic beasts in the distance. He saw through the source of life force of these plants and exotic beasts at a glance. Everything drew from the energy source of the land of origin, absorbed by various creatures as the creatures themselves grew stronger. What is cultivation? Cultivation is finding ways to absorb more energy, causing one's life form to evolve continuously. Under the operation that conforms to the supreme rules, life forms become ever more powerful. As Luo Feng walked, the nearby trees and grasses rapidly grew. Trees shot up abruptly, 1 billion kilometers, 10 billion kilometers, a trillion kilometers tall. As they ascended, these towering giant trees even began to develop consciousness. They started to ponder, to comprehend the universe. Flowers and grasses also grew, either rooting into the earth or permeating the void. In the distance, exotic beasts were undergoing transformation. True God of void space level, eternal true God level, primal chaos level, godly king level. Beast after beast directly evolved toward the godly king level, but their consciousness was too weak, their wisdom too low to control such massive physical bodies, which eventually exploded with a bang. I could enlighten them, but the prerequisite is that their spiritual will is strong enough to control such physical bodies. Luo Feng shook his head gently. Under my guidance, they could naturally evolve to gain a peak of second level of God-King realm body, but finding such a powerful spiritual will is difficult. Master. The towering tree coalesced into the figure of an elderly man, who bowed respectfully. A plant rooted in the ground also transformed into a woman, bowing respectfully. There was also a bird-like exotic beast that took on the form of a young man, bowing respectfully. All 3 of them possessed primal chaos realm strength, of course, having been enlightened by external forces. It's not easy to create godly king-level life forms. Luo Feng greeted them with a smile. The great Tao of life is infinitely profound. While collectively enlightening numerous life forms, Luo Feng had fully comprehended the great Tao of life. The operation of the great Tao of life within the supreme rules no longer confounded him. How does life arise? How is it formed? How does it grow strong? How does it evolve? Every mystery resides in the heart. Luo Feng gazed at the 3 entities from the primal chaos realm before him. As he had his epiphany about the great Tao of life, the enlightenment washed over the 3 of them collectively, allowing them to withstand bodies of the primal chaos realm, which was rather remarkable in itself. Of course, those transformed by external forces would likely find it challenging to progress further in their entire lifetime. You can be considered to have fate with me, Luo Feng nodded. You can choose to venture this world or opt to follow me to the Blade River sect. I wish to follow the master to the Blade River sect, stated the woman transformed from a plant and the youth transformed from a bird without hesitation. Both had been conscious for some time and understood the hardships exotic life forms endured in the land of origin. They knew how crucial it was to cling to a thick thigh for support. The elder transformed from the big tree hesitated before he spoke. Master, may I venture in the world for a while before joining you at the Blade River sect? Luo Feng knew that this big tree had just formed its consciousness during the transformation and, despite appearing to be an elder, it was actually the most naive. Granted, Luo Feng nodded. He then vanished into thin air with the woman and the youth, already departed. The elder from the big tree felt somewhat lost. Was his choice correct? This world? Full of curiosity, the elder had felt nothing but a vague instinct before his transformation, sensing only the passing tribes of creatures and the hunting of exotic beasts in his vicinity. Immediately filled with curiosity, the elder commenced his journey. At the headquarters of the Blade River sect, Morosa looked at Luo Feng and the woman and youth who suddenly appeared before him. Morosa, these two are the ones from the primal chaos realm that I have enlightened, commanded Luo Feng. From now on they will be part of the Blade River sect. You will be responsible for teaching them. Enlighten lives? Morosa nodded, acknowledging that as a being at the peak of the second realm of Godly King, the master had the potential to create life forms of the primal chaos realm. Morosa suddenly looked at his master with shock. Master, you? Morosa was surprised, for Luo Feng usually concealed his strength whilst outside, being formless and intangible. But in Morosa's presence he made no attempt to hide, allowing Morosa to clearly sense that his master had also attained great Tao perfection. At last there's been a breakthrough, Luo Feng said smilingly. Congratulations, master, rejoice? Morosa was overjoyed. The master, with his exceptional talent, had created the life and death Tao ultimate secret method that surpassed Morosa, even without reaching the ultimate realm. With the assistance of a super secret treasure, his strength was on par with the ancestors of two great nations. Now he had finally taken that step forward. It's but a small step. Luo Feng was in high spirits, yet he knew it wasn't significant. In just over 13 centuries since arriving at the land of origin, I've reached the ultimate realm. Morosa felt the master's terrifying rate of growth. In terms of the secret technique and spiritual will, the master was comprehensively surpassing him. As for Morosa, he had reached the limits of his growth and could progress no further. I am the strongest among the master's subordinates. I can manage the Blade River sect for the master and the Galaxy Divine Country. Morosa had the confidence, with his many avatars and formless and intangible nature, he was naturally well suited for the tasks. From today onwards you can begin nurturing the Destruction Army, instructed Luo Feng, his current realm allowing such matters to be made public. Yes, Morosa complied immediately. The woman and youth beside him were somewhat bewildered. The Destruction Army? Although they had been conscious for a while, one was a plant rooted underground and the other a true god of void space level exotic beast. They had no idea what the Destruction Army entailed. Come with me, Morosa led the two away. Luo Feng walked within Huyang City. 3 enlightened primal chaos realm beings, 2 have chosen to join the Blade River sect, 1 has decided to roam the world. This is the spirituality of life, reflected Luo Feng. With strong spirituality, life is filled with infinite possibilities. It might even break free from the shelter of the supreme rules. The so-called braided cage was indeed a form of shelter. Luo Feng observed the myriad cultivators within the bustling Huyang city, each with their pursuits, with their own spiritual will. Life. At this moment, Luo Feng could become big or small and even hide within any life form in the heaven and earth, whether cultivators, unintelligent creatures, a blade of grass or even a pebble. He could merge within them all. Even every memory of Luo Feng in the entire source world was a mark of life, which he could use to rapidly regenerate his body. Within the reach of the land of origin, I am the concept of life itself. As long as the world contains conditions conducive to nurturing life, with a wisp of energy, a bit of soil, I could be immortal, Luo Feng realized. He could slay Di Yuan, isolate cause and effect, and even slay the white demon. But killing a true ultimate realm being would exponentially increase in difficulty. And within the source continent, the life path at the ultimate realm was undying. Of course, this only applies to the conditions within the source continent. Luo Feng recognized this fact. My understanding of life is limited to the normal conditions of life within the source continent. As for the divine emperor level? As for the primordial bloodline? These are beyond my comprehension. The so-called great Tao perfection, leaving no trace, isolating cause and effect, also has its limitations. Everyone has causality. After reaching the ultimate realm, perfected great Tao can obscure and blur causality, making it difficult for enemies to probe. Even traces left in time and space are obscured. Methods within the braided cage cannot probe it. But methods that do leap out of the braided cage of a higher tier are clear and distinct. The eye of life and death in Luo Feng's brow opened. Under the gaze of the eye of life and death, not just the ultimate realm, even some causality and traces of the ancestors of 2 countries were visible to probe. Sigh. Luo Feng walked to the highest point of a pavilion within the city owner's mansion, where he sat alone. I grasp the great Tao that exists within the source world. Next, what I need to do is grope in the dark and evolve the great Tao within the source world into the great Tao at the primordial level, integrating it with the higher level mysteries. Luo Feng understood this point. Every enlightened being groping in the dark yearns for this. To discover their own great Tao at the primordial level. These materials from the ultimate realm primordial bloodline creatures. Luo Feng flipped his hand, looking at a fragmented piece of scale in front of him. I can penetrate their fundamental life compositions containing the 9 forms. But the matter that forms these 9 forms is beyond my comprehension. Because this matter originates from their primordial bloodline. It has transcended the scope of the great Tao of life, within the braided cage. If the great Tao of life at the primordial level should exist, it would have a profound grasp of the scales and fur of primordial life, thought Luo Feng. At the ultimate realm of God King, you need to contemplate the 9 forms separately, then study matter through the material Great Tao, and the combination of the 2 forms the final life form. However, in truth, all life's matter can also be attributed to the life Great Tao at the primordial level. The higher it goes, the more inclusive it becomes. The Great Tao at the primordial level is vast and boundless. Having observed the Star Tower, the Eye of Life and Death, 2 special life remnants, and the innate secret treasure Palm World, Luo Feng realized just how immense the Great Tao at the primordial level was. At least I've seen them, Luo Feng whispered quietly. Even while within Huyang City, Luo Feng could still observe all ultimate realm primordial bloodline creatures in the land of origin. These 9 creatures collectively possessed 27 different forms. Before, after Luo Feng contemplated 15 forms, he had a natural breakthrough, gaining a complete grasp of the Great Tao of life. After mastering the Great Tao, understanding these forms became much easier. More than a century passed, and the 27 forms of the 9 creatures were all fully comprehended. The 9 ultimate realm primordial bloodline creatures of the land of origin, each has its talents. 4 of them are weaker and can be ignored, the other 5 have their uses. Luo Feng's heart intention stirred. By his side an avatar stepped out, this one with silvery gray-scale armor, still bearing Luo Feng's appearance. The silvery gray-scale armor flickered. If there was an observer, they could see that across the past timeline, the present and the future timeline, an avatar with silvery gray scales appeared. This avatar can be called Time Avatar, naturally existing simultaneously in the past, present and future. Although I can use it, I do not comprehend its mysteries. After selecting the 5 ultimate realm primordial bloodline creatures, once he transforms with his spiritual will and his realm of control, they are all life forms on par with the early stages of Divine Emperor level. From now on, if I want a stronger body, I will need to contemplate it myself. Formless and intangible can no longer help me. Luo Feng understood this. The Heaven and Earth avatar among the 5 avatars. With an intention from Luo Feng, an avatar appeared. This avatar dressed simply, appearing very ordinary, but in an instant, it dispersed like mist, spreading across billions of kilometers in an instant, vastly exceeding the scope of Huyang City. The Heaven and Earth avatar. This avatar possessed the innate body-melding Heaven and Earth, able to integrate into the Heaven and Earth operation law, even leveraging the Heaven and Earth operation law, to amplify a fraction of force into hundreds or thousands of times greater. Innate secret treasure, Palm World. Rise. At this moment, Luo Feng fully activated this innate secret treasure. Rumbling. To the astonishment of countless citizens within Huyang City, the entire city began to lift from the ground, slowly ascending, and all the while the city trembled continuously. What's going on? What happened? Many cultivators flew high above, looking towards outside Huyang City, able to see giant mountains in all directions emitting light. Originally ordinary winding ranges were turning into huge fluffy claws. 5 mountain ranges were merely the tips of the sharp claws of the massive paw. An even more colossal part was emerging from the ground. As for the palm of the gigantic claw, it was supporting and elevating the entire Huyang City. Master. Moyu Qingyan, Xinu and the others were shocked. Luo Feng. Diyuan also felt that the commotion was too great. The aura of the humongous paw seemed even more terrifying than MT Leiting. This claw is a secret treasure which I am currently operating, Luo Feng conveyed through spiritual transmission, calming down the higher-ups of the Blade River sect and simultaneously shocking them with Luo He God King's terrifying prowess. This super-gigantic fluffy paw spanned billions of kilometers, 2/3 of it had emerged above the ground, still with some parts below. The solid palm was supporting Huyang City. Huyang City was now approximately 80 trillion kilometers above the ground, hovering over the gigantic palm. Palm World is indeed profound. This was the first time Luo Feng executed it fully, without any restraint, able to feel the wonder of Palm World. It really was a complete world entirely isolated from the outside. Even causality was isolated. This was even more fearsome than MT Leiting. Heaven and Earth avatar, merge with Palm World. With a thought from Luo Feng, the Heaven and Earth avatar began to merge with Palm World, without conflict as Luo Feng was in control of this innate secret treasure. Once fully merged. At this moment, Luo Feng's Heaven and Earth avatar became one with Palm World, feeling the operation of the world inside Palm World. This gave Luo Feng another perspective for contemplation. The galaxy turns out to be Luo He Ha. Emperor Qing's laughter echoed from afar. Galaxy brother, you've indeed kept a formidable secret. Such a great commotion had long disturbed the entire land of origin, drawing the gaze of many powerful beings. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.